Well, folks, 1 week until the biggest presidential debate ever. The breakdown starts now. Good evening and welcome to the breakdown. I'm Tara Setmayer. This is the Rick Wilson, and we are 1 week away from, I think, the most highly anticipated presidential debate ever, and the earliest ever, Rick Wilson. Usually we're not talking about presidential debates until September. But of course, as with everything involving Donald Trump, traditions die as well. But this time around, it was actually an offensive move on the part of the Biden campaign, basically telling Trump to shut up or show up and shut up because we're tired of you challenging us to a debate. So, all right, buddy, we'll do it in June. So CNN is hosting a debate next week, and I think there's a lot on the line here for both of them, no?
Sure. Look, I mean, Tara, here's my take on it. The Biden campaign set a trap for Donald Trump. Here's the thing. Trump has been saying a million times, MAGA and the Fox media people a million times, Joe Biden is so old and senile, he drools on himself and eats his oatmeal and it falls out of his mouth and he can't. And every time we see Joe Biden have to go perform State of the Union, Normandy, any number of events, you're like, yeah, is he old? Sure. Is he out of it? Absolutely not.
That's right.
So why did I go into this room with Joe Biden, who is coming off of a lot of weeks of success? He got Ukraine aid moving. He had a very successful trip to Europe for both the G7 and the Normandy visit. He has had great economic news week after week after week after week after week. He's getting polling news now after Donald Trump was convicted of being a felon. I don't know how many times was that, Tara?
34.
Yeah. And so Biden's going to come into this debate stage having a long couple of months of good, strong tailwinds behind him, pushing him along. And Trump has had nothing but bad news, nothing but shit news. This guy is falling apart mentally, physically, and politically. Is it over? Of course not.
No, that's right.
But Trump taking a debate where they control the microphones and they can't leave behind their podiums.
And no crowd.
And there's no crowd to feed Trump's ego.
Yep.
And it's Jake Tapper, who is.
I know.
I think Jake's tolerance for the bullshit is right. His shit filter is right about here in terms of being full for Donald Trump. I don't think he's going to let anything go in this debate. And it's going to make Trump look like the over-the-top, exaggerated level of crazy he's had lately. It's going to really hurt him. And look, does Biden have to do well? Of course he has to do well. He can never. Biden always has to do twice as well as Trump.
Which is just ridiculous because, I mean, given the incompetence and lunacy of Trump constantly, I mean, the ratio of the batshit crazy things and incompetent things that Trump does versus Biden is like, it's like this, but you would never know that by the way the media covers it. It's nuts. And last time I checked, it wasn't the Biden campaign or the Biden folks that are putting out these like deep fake videos or highly edited videos to make Trump look like he's a wandering, bumbling fool, because they don't have to, because you don't have to edit the videos or anything like that, because Trump is a bumbling freaking fool. And the fact that there's even a comparison here has created this perception that there's somehow, again, we talk about this all the time, there's some kind of moral equivalence here when there isn't. Now, you mentioned the polls, and a couple of good polls have come out this week, which is great. The Fox News poll, I think, has some on the right freaking out a little bit because it's the first time in a while that Joe Biden is up nationally. It's only a couple of points, but at least the trend is he's going up. You see the little trend line there? It's going this way for Joe Biden and going this way for Trump. And that is post-conviction. We've had people trying to tell us, oh, the conviction's not going to matter. It's actually going to help Trump. And we've been like, not so sure.
Yeah, for
that's
months,
going to help him.
We've been like, really?
Yeah, not with the people that they need to vote in the battleground states. Maybe it helps them with the crazy MAGAs and the base, but he doesn't need to shore those people up. He needs, how does this play for him in the battleground states? And so if it's reflecting a trend up for Biden now, the battleground states, it's got to be resonating there too. I haven't seen what the recent polls are there because that's really what matters. National polls kind of don't. But this is still good news for Joe Biden, and they need to like ride these good numbers for now. That's why next week's debate, his performance really matters because of all the things going on, right? You've got, like you said, the good economic news. You've got his good performance overseas from the G7. There's been a series of positive things, and Biden is preparing for the debate like a normal person. He's going to report. He's going to go hang out at Camp David and prep like you usually do. And
as one does, as
one does when you're president. And Donald Trump, they're trying to say is, oh yeah, he's taking it seriously too. Like he's actually getting policy briefings. Bullshit. No, he's not. Give me a break. Policy. Donald Trump doesn't care.
If you believe he would accept a policy briefing,
come on.
I have stock in the Trump social media platform known as Truth Social to tell you, because Donald Trump getting a policy briefing is like a rabid raccoon getting a mortgage. It's never going to happen.
Right. It's right. Just like they tried to bill his trip up to the Hill last week as policy briefings too. Like, yeah, okay. Except the reports coming out of there where he was like a drunk uncle at a family reunion. So I mean, they can the campaign can try to manipulate the messaging all they want about how Donald Trump is kind of, preparing for this different than last time, because they went back and reviewed the old debate, and even Trump admitted he interrupted too much. Bullshit. Trump's not. First of all, Trump never admits a mistake about anything, and secondly, he thinks that works for him.
He's incapable.
That's right. Like, come on. So I wish the media wouldn't fall for it, but that's what we're here for. We're here to siphon through the BS and tell it to you straight, because somebody has to. So why not us?
Yeah.
Speaking of Biden and him doing well, because we're going to get a little more into the crazy happening down in Louisiana and this like separation of church and state being heard again, crazy talk. More Project 2025 stuff to talk about, but we think it's important to keep reminding people that Joe Biden's actually doing good things as president. So we put together a little montage to show you this is what Joe Biden's been doing, folks. And it's pretty good. Take a look.
And the Biden administration has been more successfully economically interventionist than the New Deal.
Close, once again, to the Fed's 2% inflation target.
These markets that just are running at an incredible pace.
Climate investments, healthcare reforms, corporate tax reform.
Insulin price caps, prescription drug reform, and Affordable Care Act subsidies.
Groundbreaking chips and science law that's going to ensure that technologies and jobs of the future are made here in America.
More than 1 million veterans and survivors are currently receiving PACT Act benefits.
In America, we leave no veteran behind. From the American Rescue Plan that helped create nearly 10 million new jobs. And given people in this nation, working people, middle-class folks, people who built the country, a fighting chance. To rebuild America's roads, bridges, ports, deliver clean water, high-speed internet.
15 million jobs.
That's the strongest two-year growth in history. And all this progress is part of our vision and plan and determined effort to get the job done for the American people. Got it.
And there you have it, folks. Governing is boring, right? Competence is boring. And this is what the president's supposed to be doing. It's just crazy that our society is so, attention span is so short, and that we're just so stimulus hungry all the time, that we need to have some kind of drama happening, because we all have Stockholm syndrome from the 4 years that Donald
everybody
Trump was
wants the
president.
hit of the dopamine of excitement and chaos and craziness. And Terry, you're right. It's like the amazing thing, like all these Republican donors who are flooding to Trump right now, coming back home to Trump,
which we predicted.
We predicted.
Once
you
again.
and I talked about this 2 years ago, and we got yelled at, of course. We said that Trump would come back and they would justify it all by a tax cut. They're not going to get a tax cut even if Trump comes back. You know why, folks? The House is going to be a Democratic House. There is literally no scenario right now where the Republicans don't lose the majority in the House. They're going to get their asses handed to them. The Senate may go back to being Republican, but it's not going to be by much. It's going to be very closely divided.
Yeah.
And frankly, they're in a little bit of trouble in Florida and a little bit of trouble in Montana. And right now it looks those races are actually looking better than I thought they would.
Well, hold on a second. That's kind of news. that there's some that Florida is looking a little like that's even.
Well,
a
I mean,
thing.
look,
That we've kind of
here's what's
written
happening in
Florida
Florida.
off.
Here's what's happening in Florida. Rick Scott has never been a popular guy.
He wasn't
He's
popular
weird,
when he was
he's
governor.
creepy, he's Voldemort. But Rick Scott can always go in and spend $100 million in his election. He's sending the signal he's not spending his own money this time. And that's got people a little weirded out. Second, there's a pro-choice ballot initiative on the ballot this fall.
Yep.
It required about 800,000 signatures to get on the ballot. The Republicans were like, they'll never get that. It turned in 1.45 million signatures.
Holy shit. Yes.
It is leading in the polls among Republicans at 60%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it has to pass by 60% to win,
right?
But Democrats are with it about 95%. Independents in the 80s. It's going to pass. And right now, it's freaking the Republicans out, and it's freaking Rick Scott out. So Debbie McCoskell-Powell is in a better position than she thought she would be.
Right.
Now, there's a big cash differential, obviously, because Rick Scott's stolen all that money. But that's a race I'm watching very closely. In Montana, John Tester is holding his own or a little more.
He's running a great race.
He is a really good candidate. And folks, Tara and I have been around politics a long time. Quality of the candidate matters a lot. The Republicans are all cuckoo, cuckoo. I love Trump more than you. No, I love Trump more than you. Yeah. Tester's got a good chance of holding that. There's a possibility in West Virginia that Joe Manchin running as an independent splits the conservative vote and puts a Democrat in that seat. It's not a high chance, but Republicans are freaking the hell out all over the place right now.
Oh my God.
They're not going to control the House. They might have the Senate, but the Senate will no longer have Mitch McConnell as its leader in the Republican caucus.
Yep.
He's out the door, y'all.
Yep.
And the people that are going to replace him are insane.
I hope Democrats in their Senate races play on that. Okay. Again, we've said this in the past, like during the 2022 midterms, how Democrats needed to make it a national race. Everything was about Trump being the boogeyman. And just the way Republicans did it in 2010, where Nancy Pelosi was the boogeyman for every single race. It didn't matter what the contours of the race were. The national messaging was, do not let Democrats get the House because you're going to end up with this crazy lady as your Speaker of the House. And that worked for Republicans, among other things, the healthcare and the government-run healthcare and the death panels and all that stuff that Republicans use, all that rhetoric, that worked. But Nancy Pelosi was the boogeyman. And so now we said, look, that kind of stuff works because it keeps a cohesive message. Use the same thing for Trump and Republicans. Do it now again in the Senate. Show the crazies. You want these people to run the place? Because that's who's going to run the place if you vote for this person and Republicans get the Senate back. They need to have a unified message on that. They've got to have a boogeyman other than Trump. I mean, Trump is the big, he's the king boogeyman. But you need to have that also to understand these down ballot races in the Senate. That stuff matters. It matters who runs the Senate.
100%. And look, there's also a third issue that's going on in a lot of these places. And this is where the ball game could really change in the fall. There is a possibility that we end up with a preference cascade away from Trump in the late summer, where all the fundamentals of this race start to come together. Mm-hmm. If Republicans get depressed about Trump, if Trump catches a cold, all these Senate candidates get pneumonia and the candidates get Ebola. You could have a very, very bad set of outcomes because the Republican Party turnout machine is now so locked into Donald Trump. One of the reasons the Democrats won in 2018 and in 2022, Donald Trump was not on the ballot to bring out low propensity Republican voters. And those voters, if they get depressed or if they get their fifis hurt or if they're little snowflakes and don't want to play anymore, it could blow them out. And by the way, if Trump thinks he's losing, he'll burn it all down.
Oh, for sure.
He will give zero fucks. He'll be like, I cannot win, therefore no one should win. We should all die.
Yeah, we should have no more elections.
I'm giving it to you now.
Yeah, he'll say we shouldn't have elections. Just, let's storm the Capitol and appoint me. I mean, there's no telling what he will say at that point if he feels like he's losing. You're right. You're absolutely right about that. But that's also a long ways away. And we can't, it's a hypothetical.
By the way, folks, no excuses for not getting up every day and doing the work.
Right. I don't want people to wish cast and be like, okay, we're going to wait until Donald Trump implodes. Like, no. We still have to be on offense, constantly out there, on message, reminding people of what's at stake and what Biden has accomplished and what the future would look like under a Biden administration versus a Trump administration. Which leads me to the next thing, which is what's happening in Louisiana. Folks, if you guys believe in the separation of church and state and you're uncomfortable with this like version of Gilead, Handmaid's Tale type of religious theocracy, militant theocracy being foisted on the American people, then what's happening in throughout the states and places like now Louisiana should concern you. Louisiana now we're gone back to this. We're forcing people to put the 10 Commandments in your classrooms. Haven't we been down this road before, Rick? Like, hasn't the ACLU
been to this rodeo a couple times?
Litigated this before? Question. Why are we back here?
What would Republicans do if the city of Dearborn, Michigan, which is a majority Muslim population, said, we're going to put the principles of the Quran up in every classroom?
Bingo. That's right. They flip out. Flip out.
These are people who flip out over a rainbow flag.
They flipped out when Keith Ellison wanted to use a Quran atheists. To sign
they
himself
flip out
in.
Over everything. But this thing has got to go. It has got to go before the Supreme Court, I think, in an expedited way.
Yeah. It won't, though, because they're uninterested in actually. Oh, well, they want this, right? Didn't Alito and the secret tape say that we should go back to a godly, more godly America? Nation. Yeah. I mean, so we can't, again, the courts aren't going to save us. So, no. and I was saying to your point about the Muslims in Dearborn, like, I remember when Republicans flipped out because Keith Ellison wanted to use a Quran to swear himself to get sworn in as a congressman. Like they're, I mean, so I'm sorry, but last time I checked, we have freedom of religion here, and this is not okay. So this is just another notch. They're doing this throughout the culture wars of the radical Christian nationalist right is being manifested in the states. So when you hear Donald Trump and MAGA say, oh, well, leave it up to the states, this is the kind of shit that they're pulling there. So folks, please pay attention to what's happening at your state and local levels. Republicans are really good at this. We know because we helped write the playbooks. They're really good at the state and local races, and they're doing these things, here with the state delegates and the state legislatures and state senators and the governors and the attorneys generals and the secretaries of states. They're putting all their little people there. It all
matters down the line, guys.
It matters. Just look at what happened in 2020. If there hadn't been sane people at the state level, we would not have President Biden as president today. We would have had a constitutional crisis. God knows what would have happened with the fake electors. Like, this stuff matters. So
I can't even. I think about that sometimes, and I just like the thought of the fake elector strategy succeeding.
Oh my God!
I mean, it would have truly broken American democracy at the most fundamental level. No one would ever believe anything ever again.
Right. And the thing is that
which is what they want.
Right. That's what they want, because that's how authoritarianism gets ushered in, because you have the distrust of institutions. Mm-hmm. So it's only I can fix it. Right. It's going to take the strong man that's going to, don't worry, trust me. Exactly. And so it's like they're putting in place, they're running crazier people. They're out here trying to train an army of election workers going out here in the states to monitor the elections and teaching you. They're trying to take old civil rights laws and using them to challenge the election. Yeah, they're not election workers.
They're shock troops.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's true. This is what the Republicans are doing.
Remember those guys in Arizona who were like, "Oh, we're election observers," who showed up with body armor, and Mitch helmets and AR-15s. Like, we're election observers. Oh, are you?
Right. Exactly. So you got a lot of this going on here. So of course the 10 Commandments thing is just another microcosm, another example of the Gilead tactics that they're using. And that's, again, in reference to anyone who's watched The Handmaid's Tale or read the books. Nobody wants to live in Gilead. Okay. Except for maybe, Commander Mike Johnson. But here, LP put out a little something talking about the commandments.
I'm proud to be promoting the God Bless the USA Bible. It's my favorite book.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody.
Donald Trump found guilty all 34 counts of falsifying business records.
Donald Trump's hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels.
She'd had an affair with Trump.
I am the chosen one.
The Trump Organization frauded the state of New York.
$354 million.
I'm very greedy.
We must make America pray again.
How stupid are the people of the country to believe this crap?
We ask that question all the time.
Pretty much every day.
All the time, because, we'll never understand it. Well, I mean, we kind of do, but like, not really. It should not be this close. It should not be this close. Why else shouldn't it be this close? Well, Donald Trump was back at his rallies again this week. And Rick, we were talking about this off air. I mean, Donald Trump just doesn't look well. There's a lot, like seems disheveled and just everything is very off. There's something off, more off than usual about him lately.
I'm going to shock people, Tara, when I say this. I'm going to shock people. The other day, I saw an old, disheveled, obese, confused man trying to recapture something he had in 2016. And there was even a moment where I was like, I wish I could just tell him to quit. It'd be better for him.
You actually had sympathy for Trump?
For like a fraction of a millisecond. It wasn't a long time. I got over it. But it was like he's going on the momentum of his own evil and of the evil people around him pushing him to stay in the game. Because the Trump of 2016 was gone by the Trump of 2020. Mm-hmm. And the Trump of 2016 is now so far departed from the Trump of 2024. He is slower. He is less impactful on the stump. His rallies are tiny now, folks.
Yes.
He's pulling in 75, 150 people in these things. The illusion of Trump is very hard to sustain now. It's very difficult to keep Trump up as a iconic, powerful figure. And look, 2016, Donald Trump had physicality, he had stage presence, he had a big personality. He was funny. He was a dick. And now he's just old and crazy.
And repeating the same things over and over. It's not new material.
How many times with the damn shark story, Tara?
Oh my God, how many times? Well, at least one more time, because he said the freaking story again at his most recent rally. Who's telling him to say that? Watch.
My life could have been so simple. I could have had 200 lawyers less. My life could have been so simple. I would have had a beautiful life, but this is a beautiful life. This is far more beautiful. I mean, what's better? Being with you right now. Look at that beautiful lake. Beautiful, right? What's better, this or sitting on the Pacific or the Atlantic, which has sharks? You don't have sharks. See, that's a big advantage. I'll take the one without the sharks.
I got nothing.
I don't either.
Nothing.
I don't either.
Nothing.
I mean, it speaks for itself, for God's sakes. He also has this weird obsession with French wine. And we were talking about this before. He's again talking about the greatest hits. He has gone down this rabbit hole before too, whining about wine when he was president, because he owns a winery outside of Charlottesville. Now, I love the wineries in Virginia. As you know, I'm a big fan. My husband and I are wine club members of several lovely vineyards here in Virginia.
There are many
excellent wines. Excellent wines.
Many.
And Thomas Jefferson brought back from France the winemaking and all this. And there's the whole Monticello wine circuit down there.
Absolutely.
The Trump vineyard ain't one of them. Okay, their wine sucks.
If you're looking for a wine that can also serve as a dessert topping and a floor wax, Trump wines are for you.
Pretty much. And I've never been there, and I'm like, I don't ever want to go there. I will never patronize there, but I've heard that the wine sucks. So, but that's why he's got this weird obsession, because it impacts him. And he goes on and on about these like French wine tariffs. Like, watch this.
And I said to him, listen, Emmanuel, if you don't drop that tax immediately, no, I cannot do that. I said, yes, you can. If you don't tax it immediately, all wine, every bit of wine, every bottle of wine and champagne that you send into the United States, we're putting a 100% tariff on that wine or champagne. We don't want your wine and champagne. We make great stuff over here. And he said, Donald, that is not fair. I said, yeah, it's not fair to charge American companies 25%. I got to stick up for the companies. They're our job producer. He said, that is not fair. I said, Emmanuel, you have 24 hours to tell me. 10 minutes would be better. He calls me up 5 minutes later. Donald, we have agreed to terminate the 25% tax on America. I do things like this. You have no idea how many deals you could make on a phone.
Okay, we all know that that's like not how it happened. All right,
No.
like virtually none of that is true. We also know that he got himself in trouble on the phone. It's also how it's also how you commit a lot of crimes. Like, I don't know, trying to extort Ukraine to get dirt on his political opponent, or maybe trying to call up the Georgia Secretary of State and ask him to find 11,000 votes for him.
11,847
Right.
votes.
So like Donald Trump, shut up. And he just makes this shit up. He just makes this stuff up. You think that crowd in there gives a shit about French wine tariffs? I don't think so.
No, I'm going to say
Man
the
of the people.
average MAGA voter is not out every day worrying about the additional marginal cost on their French wines.
Correct. Maybe Boone's Farm, but I don't think they're worrying about any like Sancerre.
Look, if there was a White Claw tax, then it would get violent.
I'm just saying, He also did this weird thing again, and him being weird. He can't seem to get names right. Everybody goes, Joe Biden. He can't remember things.
He's clocking in on a whole bunch of dementia symptoms, and the names thing is a big one.
Here's another one. He's obsessed with this guy too, because he was his White House doctor, and he's now, he's a congressman now. But check it out, Ronnie Johnson, folks.
Dr. Ronnie Johnson. Does everyone know Ronnie Johnson, congressman from Texas? He was the White House doctor. And he said I was the healthiest president he feels in history. So I liked him very much immediately.
The guy's name is Jackson.
Listen,
and he's done it before.
I can't say that I have a drug dealer or that I've ever had a drug dealer, but you would think you would know their name.
Speaking of that, Trump keeps trying to change back to the debate topic.
I've been told that the drug dealer of a certain son of a former president is nicknamed Skeeter.
Oh, God. Well,
and to God.
Oh, Lord.
Because I know everything. I talk to everybody. Skeeter.
Not Skeeter. Okay. Trump is trying to lay the foundation to like lower expectations in case he gets his clock cleaned or he acts crazy or something happens next week at the debate. And he's accusing Biden of being on drugs if he has a good performance. If he's like high
Sarah,
energy.
wait, let's clarify even further.
Yeah.
He's using Don Jr.
to
talk about somebody being on drugs.
Right.
I mean, I don't know about you, but
no
I find that ironic in many, many ways.
No self-awareness at all. Yeah. So it's always, what do they say? Every accusation is a confession here with Trump. It's so true. The projection is just nutso. But that's another one, folks. So if you ever listen to MAGA World stuff, this is the thing that they're putting out there now, a week before the campaign, the debate, in case Joe Biden does really, really well there. Do you think he's going to show up, Rick? That's kind of a conversation.
I think there's a 2 in 3 chance Trump shows up. Okay, I don't think it's 100% chance at this point. I really don't.
Interesting. You're not the only one.
2 in 3. I think it's more likely that he does than he doesn't. Partly because I just know Trump's character, and he knows this is the biggest event he's going to get for a long time. He needs a resetting event. He needs to try to have a onstage confrontation with Joe Biden for his own ego needs.
This is true. That's why I think he shows up. Short of like, a catastrophic event. I don't think his ego would allow him not to show up because then he looks like a chicken. And so, then all the things can come out and that would give Joe Biden an open field to just destroy Donald Trump. So 100%. I think he shows up, but who the hell knows? You just never know with with these people. But what we do know is that a second term of Donald Trump is unimaginable for a lot of us for a lot of reasons. Not necessarily because we're just, being hyperbolic and saying, screaming our hair is on fire. It's because of the things that he's not only said, but the things he's already done. And this week on 60 Minutes, Mark Esper was on talking about how Trump was asking to shoot protesters. Why can't we shoot protesters? You had Alyssa Farah Griffin out there talking about telling the story again about how Trump wanted to execute the leakers inside the White House. The person that leaked out that Trump was in the bunker in 2020 because of the protesters. This is insane. And I don't know why.
I love the era of calling him bunker bitch.
Oh my gosh. And oh my God, that was the summer of 2020. Like, he hates that kind of stuff. He hates it. He's still obsessed about it. But the fact that Mark Esper, former SecDef, Secretary of Defense, was out here saying this again publicly, I don't know why this doesn't get more traction. He's not making this up.
I'll tell you why, Tara. It's because the media in this country has a formulation in their head. First off, Trump is interesting and fun for them to cover.
Yeah.
The second part of it is very simple. They say to themselves, "Oh, everybody knows that."
Yeah,
and they think it's baked in because they think because they know about it that everybody knows about it, but it's just not true.
It's just not true. This is Mark Esper, former Secretary of Defense, on 60 Minutes.
And I thought that we're at a different spot now. He's going to finally give a direct order to deploy paratroopers into the streets of Washington, D.C., and I'm thinking with weapons and bayonets. And this would be horrible.
What specifically was he suggesting that the U.S. military should do to these protesters?
He says, can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something. And he's suggesting that that's what we should do, that we should bring in the troops and shoot the protesters.
The commander-in-chief was suggesting that the U.S. military shoot protesters.
Yes, in the streets of our nation's capital. That's right.
That gives me goosebumps because he meant it. And you know what? Last time he had people like Mark Esper and others who had some sense, who knew better, to just be like, not no, but hell no. The next time around, the Secretary of Defense is going to be like what's his name? General Flynn, Michael Flynn, or someone like that. Like, he's not going to have good and decent people in these positions to tell him no. And I don't know what it's going to take for people to understand this. Did you see the movie Civil War? That movie that came out? Yeah. That movie was really difficult for me to watch. I actually went to the theater by myself on like a Monday night at 8:00. And it was me and like 5 other people in the theater, which sometimes I like that because you feel like it's your own personal screening. But I sat in the back row by myself, and it was hard. And when they eventually get to DC, I'm not giving anything away. There are scenes there of DC basically being a war zone.
Yep.
And what made that movie so hard for me to watch was because it was actually plausible in my mind at this point. A lot of the scenarios they encountered on their way from New York to DC felt plausible in a Donald Trump America if he were to be president again. And that scared the shit out of me.
Jesse Plemons doesn't get a best supporting role for that one scene he did.
Oh my God. I'm getting goosebumps again. So I don't want to give it away.
And
oh my God.
It is what you could imagine happening in a Trumpian era.
Yes.
But I mean, look, you're right. The DOJ, they're now saying Kash Patel will be the acting attorney general.
This is the guy that Trump tried to make CIA director, right? Or CIA.
Rich Grenell wants to be Secretary of State. I can't discuss Flynn because he's suing me for $10 million in litigation right now.
I brought him up, not you.
But no, it's fine. It's not fine, but
right.
But it will. The administration will be stacked with hyper loyalists to Trump. They will not divert or blink an eye about executing his will at all times.
Stephen Miller, Mr. Trump's will not be questioned, or whatever the hell he said. He'll be Attorney General or Homeland Security Secretary. Yep. I mean, we're not making this up. They're telling us it's in their Project 2025 plans. It is in Trump's rallies. His acolytes are out there saying this on their right-wing crazy ecosystem of media, pumping this in. They're bragging about it. They're bragging about it. They're chomping at the bit to take over our country and implement their sick, twisted fascist ways. So I believe the people who worked most closely with Donald Trump, and I hope that more people come out like Mark Esper, more forcefully as a united voice. John Kelly, I'm talking to you, buddy. You got to come out and tell people what you heard firsthand from Donald Trump as his chief of staff. You are a general. I feel like you have a duty to this country to be honest with the American people, to make sure that this bastard is never the commander-in-chief again. So there's a lot of those kinds of people that I'm hoping come the fall that they will, in the weeks where everyone's paying the most attention, they will come out as a unified voice and remind people of what they saved us from the last time and what they're trying to save us from in the future. I hope so. I hope so. Speaking of the future, we have an exclusive preview of a new ad.
Yes.
That you guys are putting out that I want to make sure that we show exclusively. It's going to run tomorrow, but it's about the future. And you know what? Trump's actual freaking stupidity. Take a look.
In January 2025, the future that generations were warned about will arrive. We know AI will change everything. Machines that can think for themselves, make decisions for us, technology which can control us or even kill us if we aren't careful. That future may await us, but a far greater threat is here now. Because that day in January isn't about artificial intelligence. It's about actual stupidity. Masses of people unwilling or unable to recognize the difference between democracy and dictatorship. Politicians and pundits drunk on confirmation bias and spewing lies in the name of principles they no longer hold. Cultists, useful idiots, ignorance, mindlessness. Actual stupidity. It's here, and it's taking over. Take a last stand with humanity this November and save the future from AS before it's too late.
Okay, the iRobot stuff creeped me out, and I was like, "Where is this going?" And then I was like, "Okay, this is."
You know, it was funny because we started talking about that a few days ago, and it was just like, it's like, why is this a real risk? There's plenty of shit in the world that could really, really make us, go in a very bad direction, and it doesn't require a hyper intelligent artificial machine. It requires people being stupid this fall.
Yes. Absolutely. So. Please, America, let's not be stupid this fall. Okay. Speaking of stupid, we're gonna wrap the show. Rick's podcast, Enemies List, is not stupid, so check it out. There's lots of cool people on there. He put out lots of content, so check that out. But what is stupid usually is Last Week in the Republican Party. We wrap it up for you in one little tiny bow of a week's worth of stupid. We'll see you next time, folks.
Kind of feels like it's a white boy summer.
And it was, as the former president would say, a total love fest.
It was the single best meeting I've ever seen.
You know what Trump meetings are like. He's electric.
This guy is tireless. He's committed. He's smart. He's funny.
He was funny. He was joking around constantly with everyone. He was really sweet to me.
Very complimentary things about all of us. We had sustained applause.
He was the team captain, and we were glad he was leading us.
What if your choice of water could make a statement? What if it could symbolize your commitment to values like freedom, individuality, and self-reliance?
When you see Trump at a black church, how wonderful is that?
Is there a chance that one of these orgs is potentially hiding information from you about aliens?
I guess so.
I can't get this stuff out of my hair.
This water isn't free, but your speech is. It's not just refreshing. It's rebellious, and it's unapologetic to drink this in public. Can you freaking believe it?
Do you want a dance party, or do you want to go live in your parents' basement?
We don't need votes. We got more votes than anybody's ever had.
Oh, so hold on, drink break.
I took a cognitive test, and I aced it. Dr. Ronnie Johnson.
The name of Trump's former White House physician turned U.S. Congressman is Ronnie Jackson.
Is he headbutting the Pope?
And in particular, and remember this. Oh, wait a minute. Mike Lindell, please stand up, okay?
No
Donald Trump believes in law and order.
No doubt about it.
You ever been in a fist fight, Mr. President?
Probably not.
Women aren't smart guys. Newsflash, breaking news, we aren't smart.
And anyone that wants to continue to shame us for January 6th can go to hell.
China!